Welcome to our vlog series where Workday Project Manager Jane Davis and I will walk through the process of evaluating and implementing Workday for government customers. I'm your host, Amy LaHait, Director of our Client Partner team here at Collaborative Solutions. During our last video, we focused on when and how do you engage with vendors, and today we're going to discuss selecting a software and services vendor. So Jane was a customer and recently joined Collab as a project manager. I'm really excited to have her join me again today. Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Thanks for joining again today. So today we're going to talk about the reference process. And I wondered if we could start by having you tell us a little bit about how you and the team approached references and what the goal of the reference check was.
Yeah, well, we had to make sure it was fair, of course, as always. So we made sure we had a really good set of questions and that we asked the same questions to each previous customer. So what the goal of the reference check is that you follow up with the vendor's previous customers and then kind of get a gauge from them as how their experience went of their ERP implementation and the product itself. So, you're never going to really hear much of a better rundown about it than from somebody who's walked in the shoes, right? So it's really valuable to hear that. And a lot of the things we heard from the different vendors, customers that we evaluated actually were lessons learned that the organization itself think they could have done differently. So that was a really important thing. We took a lot of notes there and learned a lot about just lessons learned from people's implementations. But a very common pain point that we heard over and over again, which is kind of a tough thing for any implementation, was around data conversion and integrations. That's often a bit of a pain point there. And one of the things that we noticed with the Collaborative and Workday references is those people who use them had a fairly good experience around there compared to some of the other vendors. They hadn't had really any issues with integrating with other third parties, and also their data conversion went very smooth. And one of the things that they all said as an organization that they felt they wish they'd have done better or differently was that they wish they'd have done a bit more backfilling and kind of prepped their own staff in that way by more support, more bodies on the floor kind of helping put the project together and that. So we kind of tried to listen to that and get some more people to backfill some positions and help our project team. So there's many different facets I think can help with those reference checks, and you really need to listen there, I think, what other people are saying about the implementation and the products, because you really get a good gauge on what's happening.
That's great. And did you notice anything like nuances or differences between the references that you found particularly helpful?
I think reporting often seemed to be a bit of a sticky point, and I think it's because some organizations tend to push that off until the end. There's always something more important to do through the project than reports, and then all of a sudden you go live and it's like, oh, we need these reports. So that's something that we used it and made a big push on our own project team to make sure that we kept reporting and kept our list of reports up front so that we had that ready for go live. So yeah, those kind of common themes is reports, data conversion, integrations, and that kind of thing. But like I said, the Collaborative and Workday, we heard good things around those areas, so that gave us a good level of confidence going forward. And also that their projects had stayed on time and on budget from the people we spoke to, and that was big too, because a lot of times these projects can sometimes extend the timeline, and also when the time goes on, it can kind of increase the cost sometimes, so we didn't want that.
Right. And then I know we've talked in the past too about the fact that including questions about do these organizations have experience conducting remote deployments also was pretty big. I think.
Especially now, if I was doing this again, there was more on-site back then when we were listening to those a big question I would be asking would be around their experience doing remote deployments and their success rates around the remote deployments too.
Definitely. So how about when it comes to recommending organizations, like how you guys weighed, the different areas and prioritize the various vendors?
Yeah, so there's a few different stages when you're evaluating. So there's the written evaluation and then software demonstrations and discovery. So through each one of those pieces, we had a different set of criteria, but very, very common themes. And one of the things, it's cost, technical requirements, and a big one that we placed a lot of emphasis on was our implementation partner. So Collaborative Solution is an implementation partner, and some of the other vendors have implementation partners too. And some of our staff were worrying or questioning what's an implementation partner. And, basically it's certain vendors use another company to help them implement the software, because those people have that expertise in whatever the field is. So in my example, it was local government. We really needed an implementation partner who had some local government experience and would be able to understand our business and work with us. And also we wanted a company that the people were going to be nice to work with. We're going to have to spend a year with them. It's almost like getting into a marriage of sorts, so we wanted to make sure we wanted to be happy with those people going forward, and we had a good feeling about them. So that was a big part of our evaluation too, was who were we going to be working with, who would our partners be? And we placed a lot of focus on that. And what we found was very impressive was Collaborative Solutions' high customer satisfaction rate. And also, Workday was very appealing to us because of its capabilities of being so flexible and taking us into the future. Because as our organization grew, we wanted a software that would be able to grow with us and that we could kind of work our way into and leverage going forward. And it seemed to be the most modern out there. And also what was very appealing is that everybody's on the same version of Workday. So we didn't want to end up getting behind. Sometimes with certain softwares, you can end up pushing off an upgrade for multiple times sometimes. And then, all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're 7 versions behind and you can't catch up. So with Workday, that's just never going to happen. So that was really great. And that we can talk to any other Workday customer about, we're talking the same language. You're on the same version, you're talking the same language. So that was very appealing too. So that was part of the evaluation too. But I would say that the most heavily weighted piece was about who are we going to be working with, and are they going to understand our needs, and are we going to have a good relationship with them going forward?
Awesome, great. I think that's what we're going to cover for now. During our next video, we will continue our discussion on the pre-sales evaluation process, and we'll be talking about preparing for the actual implementation. So the topics will be building a project team and planning resources. So how do you manage time and backfill for positions, business process improvements and decision making, setting expectations with your organization, and then also Workday training. So last but not least, I'd just like to say thanks again to Jane for your time and expertise. Always enjoy having you, Jane. Thanks.
Thanks, Amy.
Sure thing. Bye, everybody.